They don't talk about Paige. They only talk about Caitlin Clark and controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark. She's the only thing that gets national attention in this league. Chiney Ogwumike goes on ESPN First Take and talks about how the conversation around the WNBA is far too away from talking about the actual basketball on the court. We've gone so far.
The WNBA is currently experiencing the greatest financial boom in the entire history of women's professional basketball. Television ratings are skyrocketing to unprecedented, astronomical heights. Arenas across the country are completely sold out on a nightly basis, and league merchandise is flying off the shelves faster than the manufacturers can even produce it. From a purely external perspective, looking in from the outside, everything appears to be absolutely perfect. And yet, behind closed doors, the highest levels of league management are reportedly in a state of absolute, undeniable turmoil. Are we currently witnessing the final days of Cathy Engelbert's reign as the commissioner of the WNBA? Is the very leadership that oversaw this historic financial turnaround about to be pushed out by the exact people who sign the massive corporate checks? Welcome to the hidden, often ruthless reality of professional sports business, where unprecedented financial success frequently brings unprecedented internal scrutiny. Today, we are diving incredibly deep into a massive breaking story that is actively sending shockwaves through the entire basketball world. According to a bombshell report and the subsequent analysis breaking down the current state of the WNBA, the most powerful stakeholders in the sport are officially sounding the alarm. And when stakeholders, the billionaire team owners, the major television network executives, and the global corporate sponsors start publicly raising red flags, the ground beneath the commissioner's office begins to shake violently.
Some controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark. These networks don't give a damn about the WNBA. That's the fact of the matter. They don't talk about Asia, Africa, North and South America. They don't talk about Asia. They don't talk about Angel. Girl, you're my angel. You're my dog. They don't talk about Angel Reese. They don't talk about Olivia Miles. Olivia Miles, I haven't come up with anything clever for you yet. They don't talk about Paige Beckers, the wankster. Oh, you think you a wankster, but you know.
To truly understand the sheer magnitude of this situation, we have to look closely at a recent, highly detailed report compiled by ESPN's Alexa Philippou, which detailed intense, off-the-record conversations with more than 20 different stakeholders in and around the WNBA. These are not just casual fans, internet commentators, or social media trolls. These are the highly influential individuals whose financial investments literally keep the lights on in the massive arenas. According to the top analysts breaking down this explosive report, there is a growing, undeniable consensus among these elite power players. The general belief is that, despite the obvious business growth and the lucrative financial foundations that Cathy Engelbert has helped establish during her lengthy tenure, she may simply no longer be the right person to navigate the intense daily demands that the league currently faces on a national stage. Think about the sheer weight and implication of that statement. You have a sitting commissioner who has been at the absolute helm during the most profitable, most highly visible era in the 30-year history of the entire league. Under normal, everyday circumstances, a sports commissioner in that exact position would be securing a massive, multi-year contract extension and receiving glowing public praise from every single owner in the boardroom. But the modern WNBA is no longer operating under normal circumstances. The league has rapidly evolved into a global entertainment juggernaut, essentially overnight, and the specific demands of managing a massive, mainstream juggernaut are vastly different from the demands of managing a niche, steadily growing regional league. As one prominent stakeholder bluntly put it in the ESPN reporting, there is a distinct feeling that Engelbert genuinely believes she has fully completed her primary job. She successfully set the league up financially, securing historic broadcasting agreements and stabilizing the long-term bottom line. But as the anonymous quote highlights, it is all of the other pieces that are currently causing a massive, unrepairable rift behind the scenes. What exactly are those elusive other pieces? They are the day-to-day optics, the sophisticated public relations strategies, the immediate handling of complex player controversies, and the overall narrative control of a league that has suddenly found itself under a relentless 24-hour, 7-days-a-week national media spotlight. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. The prominent analysts and commentators pointing out these internal league struggles are zeroing in on one massive, glaring issue: the alleged catastrophic failure to properly capitalize on the Caitlin Clark effect. This isn't just being viewed as a minor marketing oversight or a simple scheduling error. This is being widely viewed by sports business experts as a fundamental failure of modern sports marketing. Everyone in the sports world, from casual observers tuning in for the first time to hardcore analysts who have covered the game for decades, understands that a massive, overwhelming portion of this recent explosive growth is directly tied to the arrival of Caitlin Clark. She is the undeniable engine driving the record-breaking television ratings. She is the sole reason massive NBA-sized road arenas are selling out months in advance, and she is the absolute focal point of the daily national media conversation.
Remember Chiney said that the fist in the throat? Alyssa Thomas's fist, her fist in Caitlin Clark's throat, no big deal. We saw it in the freeze frame, and only when we freeze framed it and we saw that Caitlin Clark was getting punched in the throat, only then we thought it was a big deal. But watching it live, oh, not a big deal. Let's hear what Chiney Ogwumike. Let's hear what Chiney had to say.
Things. I feel like it's time to reset the conversation, and I understand.
Yet, according to multiple high-ranking team sources explicitly cited in the reporting, there are deep, lingering concerns regarding Engelbert's shocking failure to develop sufficient relationship equity with the league's biggest, most profitable stars, most notably Caitlin Clark. Industry observers and business analysts are finding it incredibly curious and frankly quite baffling that the highest office in the league hasn't made it their absolute top priority to build a rock-solid, incredibly close working relationship with the one specific player who is actively changing the financial trajectory of the entire sport. In literally any other major professional sports league in the world, the commissioner immediately attaches themselves to the generational superstar. They work hand in hand to strategically elevate the brand, fiercely protect the public image of the league, and ruthlessly maximize every single ounce of global marketing potential. So why is there such a perceived, glaring disconnect? According to the podcast commentary analyzing the incredibly complex situation, part of the core issue stems from a highly reactive approach to emerging public relations crises. Instead of proactively setting the daily agenda, brilliantly controlling the media narrative, and aggressively marketing their brand new megastar to a global audience, the commissioner's office is constantly seen as playing on their heels, stuck playing defense. They are allegedly reacting to online buzz, reacting to internet trolls, and reacting to sports bettors rather than confidently and strongly steering the massive ship. When you are the sitting commissioner of a major billion-dollar sports league, you simply cannot afford to be blown around by the daily, unpredictable winds of social media. You have to be the one actively creating the weather. That's when things became even more interesting, because the intense public criticism isn't just coming from unnamed team executives hiding behind anonymity, or from frustrated sports podcast hosts. It is being actively validated by elite, top-tier professionals in the high-stakes field of public relations. The reporting featured an absolutely devastating quote from Jeff Hunt, a highly respected, globally recognized specialist in crisis and reputation management. This is a man who has worked directly with the absolute biggest, most profitable entities in global sports, including Major League Baseball, the ATP, the WTA, and the PGA Tour. He knows exactly what elite, flawless sports management looks like at the absolute highest level, and his professional assessment of the current WNBA leadership was nothing short of brutal.
I could talk about what I want to talk about. That person can talk about what they want to talk about. Jason Willock can talk about what Jason wants to talk about. Dan Dockage can talk about what Dan Dockage wants to talk about. You, Chiney, you have your own show. Granted, nobody's tuning into it, but you have your own show, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. When they ask you to get on ESPN and First Take to address some of these issues like a fist in the throat or whatever the case may be, you have the right to say, no, I don't want to come on. No, I don't want to talk about it.
Hunt stated on the record, and I quote, "The hole has just gotten so deep." He then went on to explicitly say that she is in a place right now where he doesn't really know what she actually does on a daily basis. When a renowned, highly paid crisis management expert looks at your multi-million-dollar operation and publicly states to a major publication that he cannot figure out what your strategic purpose is anymore, you are officially living inside a code-red public relations disaster. The analysts breaking this complex situation down point out a fascinating, incredibly dangerous dynamic. Right now, it seems like the commissioner's office has somehow managed to completely alienate almost every single faction within the massive WNBA ecosystem. The traditional, old guard fans are reportedly deeply frustrated with the overall direction of the league. The massive wave of brand new fans brought in by the historic Caitlin Clark phenomenon are highly frustrated by the perceived lack of unyielding support and focused marketing on their favorite new players. The front office team executives are frustrated by the constant, unforced public relations fires. When you have miraculously managed to make the seasoned veterans, the incoming rookies, the brand new fans, the loyal old fans, and the billionaire corporate stakeholders all upset at the exact same time, you are standing on incredibly thin ice that is cracking fast. Let's compare this directly to the ultimate gold standard of modern sports commissioners, Roger Goodell of the National Football League. Now, it is a known fact that fans get incredibly mad at Roger Goodell all the time. He gets booed relentlessly and aggressively every single year when he steps up to the podium at the NFL draft. But the billionaire owners and the powerful stakeholders absolutely love him, and they keep paying him staggering amounts of money. Why? Because he expertly takes the heat. He completely absorbs the public anger so the owners don't have to. And he continually delivers astronomical, unprecedented financial growth through bold, strategic vision, massive television negotiations, and highly aggressive international expansion. People attribute the business growth of the NFL directly to Goodell's leadership and his unmatched ability to navigate incredibly complex political and corporate business landscapes. In the modern WNBA, however, the narrative is completely flipped upside down. The financial stakeholders and the general viewing public simply do not attribute this current wave of massive, historic growth to the commissioner's office. They attribute it almost entirely to Caitlin Clark. That is the fundamental, massive difference between the two situations. If the stakeholders truly believe that the product is currently selling itself purely based on the organic star power of the athletes on the court, they will eventually ask themselves a very dangerous, very expensive question. What exactly are we paying the commissioner to do? If she isn't fully capitalizing on the new stars, and she isn't successfully and quietly managing the daily public relations crises, then her position becomes incredibly vulnerable to a sudden change in leadership.
Stephen A? Stephen A, you there? Dude, he's already hung up. He's already hung up, Chiney. Talking WNBA basketball, like unless it's Caitlin Clark, talking about anything else, any other team, any other player. Do you know what ESPN will hear when they get into that segment? People clicking off. People turning off their TV and putting on a different.
But Kathy Engelbert is certainly not going down without a fight, and she offered her own passionate, strong defense of her tenure in a direct phone interview with ESPN. She argued passionately that the true test of high-level leadership isn't what happens when everything is going perfectly smoothly. It is what happens when you are facing immense, overwhelming adversity. She stated on the record, "It's easy to lead in good times. Where leaders really emerge, in my experience, is when you're in your best in your darkest moments, and you don't give up." It is a remarkably strong, defiant quote, but it completely opens the door for a massive, undeniable wave of external criticism. As the commentators quickly pointed out, it is deeply concerning and incredibly telling that she might feel she is living through the absolute darkest moments of her tenure right now, during a season that should ideally be a non-stop, joyful, incredibly lucrative celebration of the league's massive 30th anniversary. This entire summer should be a non-stop victory lap for the front office. They just recently made it through incredibly strenuous labor negotiations with a historic, groundbreaking agreement. They possess significantly more star power and mainstream, primetime television attention than they have ever had in the entire history of the sport. This should objectively be the golden, untouchable era of the WNBA. Yet internally, it feels like an era of pure exasperation, constant conflict, and daily putting out fires. The immense disconnect between the league office and the actual reality on the ground was perfectly, tragically highlighted by an anonymous team executive quoted directly in the ESPN report. Speaking openly about the constant stream of off-court controversies, highly debated retroactive suspensions, and massive public relations missteps that have heavily plagued the season, the anonymous executive simply asked, "Here we are with all of this stuff that's happened. And it's just at different points has felt like, where are you?" That incredibly simple three-word question, "Where are you?" is perhaps the most damning indictment a professional leader can possibly face. When the very people you are supposed to be confidently leading feel completely abandoned during crucial moments of crisis, the foundational trust is irreparably broken. Engelbert countered these heavy accusations by claiming she is completely focused, keeping her head down on purely executing a highly successful 30th season, insisting strongly that she truly loves the league and is going to continue driving the massive business forward. But in the ultra-competitive landscape of modern sports, keeping your head down is simply no longer a viable option. The commissioner absolutely must be the confident public face, the unbreakable shield, and the ultimate, forward-thinking visionary for the entire multi-billion-dollar enterprise. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. The traditional media coverage surrounding the WNBA seems just as wildly fractured and completely disconnected as the league's internal leadership structure. During the podcast breakdown of the explosive ESPN article, the host highlighted a highly specific paragraph that completely derailed the credibility of the entire narrative for thousands of dedicated fans. The author of the article actually wrote the following unbelievable sentence: "Arguably the most magical moment of the 2026 season occurred June 21st, when a Sparks player hit a buzzer-beating three-pointer to secure a Los Angeles Sparks win against Liberty in a matchup scheduled to commemorate the league's inaugural game."
There's a reason why you guys are going bankrupt. There's a reason why pre-CC teams were getting 4,000 in a building, 5,000 in a building. There's a reason why viewership was 200,000, 300,000. There's a reason why. There's a reason why.
Things that stoke the fire and fuel the fire and add more to a little bit of the madness that we're experiencing. I understand I'm not perfect. I'm grateful.
The immediate reaction to that ridiculous statement from fans and basketball analysts was absolute, unadulterated disbelief. A regular season buzzer beater is a great, fun basketball moment, sure. But to honestly call it the absolute most magical moment of a season where Caitlin Clark has literally, single-handedly rewritten the entire, decades-long history book of women's professional basketball? A season where massive arenas are selling out every single night, television records are being completely shattered on a weekly basis, and the cultural relevance of the entire league has exploded into the mainstream stratosphere? For a major sports publication to confidently claim that a random, regular season game in June was the pinnacle of the 2026 season shows a terrifying, almost intentional disconnect from reality. It perfectly mirrors the exact, precise problem the billionaire stakeholders are aggressively complaining about regarding the commissioner. There is a deeply ingrained, incredibly stubborn refusal to acknowledge the basic reality of what the massive new fan base actually wants to see. The fans desperately want to see the new stars heavily, constantly promoted. They want to see the incredible, jaw-dropping offensive talent highlighted on every possible social media and television platform. They want the league to fully embrace this new, massive, mainstream audience, rather than desperately clinging to the old, outdated ways of doing business. When the traditional sports media and the league office are both seemingly struggling to grasp the massive magnitude of the Caitlin Clark era, it creates a massive, dangerous vacuum of leadership. The WNBA is currently sitting on an absolute goldmine. They have the supreme athletic talent, they finally have the world's attention, and they finally have the immense financial backing to truly compete with the biggest, most powerful sports leagues on the planet. But maximizing a financial goldmine requires intense precision, highly aggressive global marketing, and absolutely flawless public relations execution. You simply cannot sit back and blindly hope that the sheer, incredible talent of the players will magically resolve every single front office crisis that pops up. The highly invested stakeholders recognize this. The team owners, who have personally invested millions upon millions of their own dollars into these franchises, clearly recognize this. They see the vast potential for a multi-billion-dollar future, but they also see a current leadership structure that is constantly stumbling over its own feet, heavily reacting to controversies days too late, and completely failing to build crucial, foundational relationships with the very athletes who are driving the massive influx of revenue. That's when things became even more interesting, because the clock is officially loudly ticking. If multiple high-ranking, deeply connected team sources truly believe that the 2026 season will indeed be Cathy Engelbert's very last season, it means the massive wheels of change are already in motion behind the scenes. In the high-stakes world of professional sports, stakeholders simply do not leak these types of incredibly aggressive, highly critical opinions to major publications like ESPN unless they are actively trying to send a very public, very clear, undeniable warning shot directly across the bow. They are officially putting the commissioner on notice. They are aggressively demanding a massive shift in strategy, a complete shift in tone, and a fundamental, foundational shift in exactly how the league operates on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis. The next commissioner of the WNBA, whoever that highly scrutinized person may be, is going to immediately inherit the most highly scrutinized, rapidly growing, globally relevant sports property in the entire world. They will critically need to be a true master of optics, a relentless, cutthroat marketer, and someone who intrinsically understands that the superstar players are the absolute center of the sports universe. They will absolutely need to run the WNBA not like a scrappy, underdog operation desperately trying to survive the summer, but like the premium, elite, mainstream global entertainment product it has finally, rightfully become. The old days of operating in the quiet shadows are completely, permanently over. Every single front office decision, every single press release, and every single disciplinary action is now loudly debated on national television and ruthlessly dissected by millions of passionate fans on social media. The powerful stakeholders know that the league simply cannot afford to look unprofessional, highly disorganized, or constantly reactive in this new era. They desperately need a completely steady hand at the wheel, someone who commands absolute, unquestioned respect in the corporate boardroom and complete, unwavering trust inside the player locker room. The 2026 season has been an absolute, undeniable triumph on the hardwood. The pure level of play is staggering. The new rivalries are incredibly intense, and the sheer volume of athletic talent is simply breathtaking to watch every single night. But the true, underlying story of this historic season isn't just about what is happening between the baselines. It is about the massive, high-stakes power struggle actively happening in the luxury suites and boardrooms. The future of the WNBA is brighter and more lucrative than it has ever been, but the path to get there is currently filled with dangerous political landmines, intense internal friction, and a desperate, demanding call for true visionary leadership. One thing is now crystal clear. Cathy Engelbert isn't just fighting to manage a basketball league anymore. She's fighting for her professional survival against the very people who write the checks. And if the rest of the WNBA leadership isn't paying attention yet, they're about to.